Go ahead, Mataji.
Chapter 13, text 20. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidhi anadi udbhavapi vikaram sya gunam suchaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to the beginningless. They transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature.
Yeah, next.
Text 22, 21. Karya karana kartve hetu prakritir uchyate purusha sukha dukkhanam bhokve hetur uchyate. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in the world.
Okay. Let's see where we ended last time. Text 19. Thus, the field of activities, the body, the knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Okay. And now Krishna is coming into Prakriti, right? If you remember, Bhagavad Gita has 5 things that are spoken about. So anybody remembers? Instead of me telling this.
Prabhuji, can I try?
Please.
So it is Jiva, Prakriti, Bhagavan, Karma, and what was the last one?
Kala, right?
Kala, yes.
Time. So time, Ishvara, God, Jiva, us, Prakriti, material nature, and time. So Prakriti part is being mentioned here. So of course, it has been mentioned here and there all over Bhagavad Gita, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. Krishna says, Daivi Esha Gunamai Memamaya Duratya. My divine energies are completely impossible to overcome, but one who takes shelter of me can overcome it very, very easily, right? 3 guna, the Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. So he has mentioned it a few times here and there, but now we go deeper into the Prakriti aspect of things, starting with this particular verse. So material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. So matter, by definition, has a beginning and an end, right? It's temporary. But material nature is beginningless. What does that mean? That means is this whole thing about material world, it has always existed. It will always exist. Just like in a city. No matter how good the citizens are, there will be always some people who will not want to follow the rules. And as a result, every city has a jail. So when the city is being designed, the prison is also designed along with the city. So as long as city has existed, the jail will also exist. Same way, as long as creation exists, material nature also exists. So just like matter is temporary, material nature is not temporary. Material nature is eternal, just like us or God. Is that confusing or is that understandable? If it is confusing, please ask.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is a bit confusing.
Okay. What's confusing?
Like it's the material nature and the existence of material.
Okay, so let's explain this. Karma or time, right? Time is always happening. Beginningless. Time has always existed, always exists, but it only exists in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no time. As a result, there is no karma because time brings forth karma. Now, material nature always exists. Material nature, Prakriti, has always been existing, but there has been creation, destruction, creation, destruction, creation, destruction. Every time Mahavishnu breathes out, creation happens. Mahavishnu breathes in, destruction happens, right? Every 311 trillion years of Brahma's life. Brahma is born, Brahma dies, destruction. So, but destruction doesn't mean matter ceases to exist. or matter does cease to exist, but material nature doesn't cease to exist. Durga Devi doesn't cease to exist. The blueprint is always there. Universes are created, universes are destroyed. But the material nature, which is the blueprint of creation, annihilation, that is always there. Earth, water, fire, and ether, that concept is always there. It might cease to exist, it might start existing. Does that make sense?
So it's like a like in physics we call like the change of the energy into matter and then matter into energy. Is it similar?
No. It's, how do I draw a parallel? Just because a human being dies, humanity doesn't die.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else kind of struggling to get this concept? Okay, awesome. In case you are, feel free to ask. There is no shame in asking. Okay. Material nature and living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformation and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So this is where the carbon cycle comes in, what Prayash was saying about transformation of energy, right? Cow dung becomes plant again, plant gets eaten by the cow, becomes cow dung again, that kind of a thing. So that transformation within the modes of nature is there. Okay. Srila Prabhupada says both material nature and the living entity are eternal. That is to say that they existed before the creation. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord. And so also are the living entities. But the living entities are of superior energy. So if you remember clearly, in chapter 6, it was mentioned, para prakriti, apara prakriti. There is superior energy and inferior energy. Superior energy is living entity, spiritual energy. Inferior energy is material energy, which is dull. Sat Chid Ananda, Asat Achit Nirananda. Right? One is eternal, cognizant, blissful. The other one is temporary, not cognizant, dull, and full of miseries. So, material, spiritual. Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti. So we are getting into Prakriti. So I'm bringing in some other concepts of Prakriti here. I hope that's okay. So that is to say that they have existed before creation, because material and spiritual both are divine energies of Krishna. Daivi Esha Gunamai, he says, right? They're divine energies of mind. In Prabhupada's purports, one time Prabhupada very nicely described that the electricity coming from the power plant has the ability to pass cool air through the AC and has the ability to pass hot air through the heater. But it is the same electrical energy that is blowing hot air or cold air. So similarly, Krishna is the source of both the energies, material and spiritual. And these are Krishna's divine energies that are beginningless. And one is superior, one is inferior. One is para prakriti, one is apara prakriti. Okay. Living entities are superior energy. Both the living entities and the material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. Material energy was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of God in Mahavishnu. And when it was required, it was manifested by the agency of Mahatattva. So when Mahavishnu breathes out, Mahatattva comes out, Mahatattva disintegrates into what we see today. In very simple terms, there is a lot of science behind it. Similarly, the living entities are also in him. And because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they're not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky. But with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world. So without the material body, these spiritual beings can't act. And they don't like Krishna, so they can't even go to the spiritual world. So only when material manifestation happens, these souls get the material body so they can act out. And in that action, they can have free will. With that free will, they can choose to be Krishna conscious and go back home, back to Godhead, or keep struggling up and down, round and round in the samsara. Samsara means up and down. It's like those Ferris wheels we have. In Bengali, we say Nagardola, right? So you have those Ferris wheels you see in the different movies in London and whatnot, right? So you go up and down. So Bhuloka is here, Svargaloka is here, Narakloka is here. You keep going up and down, up and down, up and down, right? But you make a choice, you become Krishna conscious, you cut through all this crap and go back home, back to Godhead. And that's the opportunity we have been given. But without the material body, we can't do that. So that's why material creation. Okay. That is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within material nature. So we are rebellious of Krishna, that's why we are here. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. Now one might be like, how did I come here? It doesn't matter. Again, Srila Prabhupada would say, when you get malaria, take the medication and get better. Don't analyze at what angle the mosquito bit me, right? When did the mosquito bit me? What was the mosquito like? It doesn't matter. We came in contact with material nature. Now we are suffering here with temporary, illusory, miserable world. And the solution is given to us. One should take it and elevate oneself to spiritual world. That's the idea. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. In the scriptures, the Lord says that those attracted by his material nature are undergoing a hard struggle for existence. But we should know it with certainty from the descriptions of these few verses that all transformations and influences of the material nature by the three modes are also productions of material nature. All transformations and varieties in respect to living entities are due to the body. As far as spirit is concerned, living entities are all the same. So spiritually, we are all equals. Materially, there is somebody is more intelligent, less intelligent, more this, more that, more beautiful, more money, less money, tall, short, all the varieties we see. Spiritually, we are equal in nature. So when sometimes, man, woman, the discussion happens and people would come to Prabhupada and say, oh, are women less than men? Prabhupada said, if you think you're a woman, then anyway, you're materially conscious, right? So if you're a spiritual being, then what's the question of man or woman? And as spiritual beings, there is equality of the soul. We are all equals. Man and woman is different than each other. A dog and a human are different from each other. Two cars are different from each other, right? So there's difference between all of us. But on the spiritual level, there is equality, Satchidananda. Of course, there is variety. Don't get me wrong. It's not all boring. We don't all look the same. We don't all have the same qualities. We all have unique qualities, unique way of connecting with Krishna. But stature-wise, Krishna sees us as good as him in the spiritual, elevated stage. All right. Any questions so far?
Prabhuji, I have a question, but not regarding this. So you said about people going in Ferris wheels, like
People what?
going in Ferris wheels. So
Ferris wheels.
Bhumandala to Swarga to Naraka. Is that like I have had experience about past life regressions? I've heard stories of past life regressions. Are there any recorded stories of
Yes.
people remembering
Yes.
things about like from Swarga Loka or Naraka Loka?
Yes.
Can you share?
Swarga, I don't know. Naraka, I know. I've heard of people sharing.
Can you please share the stories as you know it?
No, I have seen YouTube videos of hypnotic regressions, people mentioning those things. I have shared stories of people having near-death experience where the Yamadutas have come face to face with them. You know the stories, what I'm talking about. They have described the Yamadutas exactly how the Bhagavatam describes Yamadutas. There are many hospices where dying patients are taken care of, so they have a smooth death. Many times those patients, they say hallucinate, but according to the Vedas, they are seeing the beings who have come to take them, and they all describe the same aspects of the Yamadutas, the same features, copper colored hair and big teeth and ugly looks and whatnot. So yeah, it's all evidenced there. Some people have memories of past lives where they are being, tortured in a certain hellish condition. But yeah, I can't remember full stories to tell you. You can always Google and research. Why do you want to know?
But then there is also a question of like getting authentic information. Like I know if something comes from me, it will be authentic.
No. That's not how you authenticate information of past life. That could be illusion for what you know, right? Because past life, only when it is in planet Earth and you can go verify it, this is authentic information. But if somebody is saying I was in heaven with Urvashi and Menaka drinking Somarasa, how do you validate that? There is no way to validate that. But the validity is the scriptures. We take the scriptures at face value. That's how descending knowledge works, right? Empirical knowledge, the way we are being trained, our empirical knowledge comes under the microscope. Everything we have to learn by doing it, by observing it. But in the Vedic system, the knowledge comes from the creator's perspective. And that's how we know that there are all these different nuances. That's how Srimad Bhagavatam is able to describe the entire planetary systems, in so much details. It's able to talk about the distance between the sun and the moon and the sun and the earth and all the other planets, even before, thousands of years before people even knew planets were round and not flat, right? So fifth canto Srimad Bhagavatam describes in great details. If that's not enough evidence, what is?
Yes, thanks for explaining.
There is a Garud Puran has a lot of description.
Garud Puran has description of?
As description of what happens after death and what happens to the soul.
Even Srimad Bhagavatam has descriptions. Many Purans give great descriptions of what happens, and it's very detailed. And it's many devotees have actually gone through some of it, and having near-death experience, have come back to life to share what they saw, and have after that shown great faith in Srimad Bhagavatam, seeing the validity of what the scriptures say. But again, that is not how we validate scriptures. We accept the Vedas as the word of God, and that actually validates everything else, not our empirical way of thinking, right? I know it's a little difficult to get into that mindset, and there's also fear of being dogmatic, but that is, for example, right? We are not supposed to touch dead bodies. Dead bodies are supposed to be muchi or unclean. So when somebody dies and people go to the crematorium, they're supposed to take a bath before coming home. Having said that, if you see every temple, they're blowing the conch. What is the conch? It is the bone of a dead animal. They're putting it to the mouth on the altar. Why? Because the Vedas say so. We know, fecal matter is dirty, but Veda says cow dung is pure. So Krishna is bathed in cow dung. Doesn't make sense. Why would it? Because Vedas say so, right? So there are things we can measure and say, wow, Vedic knowledge was very advanced. And there are things we cannot measure. But that's not how a devotee thinks. A devotee doesn't take the Vedas and validate it with science. Rather, the devotee takes the Vedas and sees the world in the eyes of Vedas. That's how it should work. And that's how we should also, as we grow faith in the process, we should try to morph our minds in that direction. That if something I don't get from the Vedic understanding, it's not like the Vedas are wrong. It might be I lack information. I might lack intelligence to understand it. Let me read it again. Let me try to understand it better. And seeing our sincerity, Krishna will allow us the intelligence and the spiritual acumen to absorb and understand it better. Does it make sense? Or am I being dogmatic?
Yes, Prabhuji, that makes sense.
And even if you think I'm being dogmatic, it's the process of receiving knowledge in the Vedic system.
Yeah, Prabhuji, like the reason I asked you this question, like you asked, like it's about seeing from a person who is not enlightened or in the Hare Krishna movement or like Vedic knowledge.
And for them, we don't go in that topic. We don't go in such details of hell and heaven. We leave it for the Christians and Muslims to do, right? Because for them, it's always judgment day, eternal damnation in hell or heaven. We don't go in that direction. We start with Sambandha Gyan, karma, reincarnation, how material nature works, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. We just get to know where we are. So with a new person, we don't go into such esoteric topics that are impossible to explain with empirical knowledge. We don't go there.
Actually. Yes, that's true. Thanks for sharing that.
Just like a child, if they ask about differential equation or about some kind of cloud computing, you're going to be like, hey, buddy, learn the basics. Know what is a hard drive. Know what is different aspects of CPU and whatnot. And slowly, when you understand what a computer is, then you understand, more deeper details, and you can know more about things. So that's why there is class 1, class 2, class 3, and then PhD comes a lot later. So same with outsiders also. People might want to jump to Rasa Leela. Why Krishna dancing with other people's wives? They might want to jump to creation of the universe, Big Bang theory, and all of that. Hey, let's start, at the basics. Let's understand the premise of spirituality. You're not this body, you're spirit, soul. And slowly, we elevate our consciousness and we understand the knowledge, realize the knowledge, move forward.
So it's easier to move on.
Yes. Otherwise, how can you explain an ant about a sophisticated smartphone? Right? It's a different dimension we're talking about, different reality that we have no access to. How can anyone understand it? Unless one has the basics foundation cleared, then one can understand about spiritual, still not understand, but at least appreciate about spiritual realm. When I was learning Brahma Samhita, and there's great details about the spiritual world, I was told, hey, you'll have a lot of questions, logical questions. What you understand, great. What you don't understand, great. Just appreciate that it is inconceivable. And it is true. The spiritual world is inconceivable because it's a different dimension. There is no time. There is day and night at the same time. How can you imagine a place that has no time? We can't. So inconceivable, achintya, bheda bhed tattva, right? So you have to understand that certain things will come with time. When we are there, we'll understand. But when we are here, we still might be able to at a later stage. That doesn't mean we reject the reality of it. We just understand that I'm not there yet. Okay. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just wanted to understand that during, we all know that souls are eternal. So at the time of annihilation, what happens to the souls?
So at the time of annihilation, the souls are absorbed into the sweat pores of Mahavishnu, along with the universes and everything else. And the souls go into a state called Yoga Nidra, which means deep sleep. So they're in deep sleep mode. Till creation again happens, when Mahavishnu looks at Durga Devi, and through that vision, he is able to take those souls and inject into Durga Devi's womb. And that process, that thing is what you see as Shivalinga, because that vision of Mahavishnu is Shambhu. It's called Shambhu. So the living entities in the soul form, they merge into Mahavishnu's body in deep sleep. They don't become Mahavishnu, please don't get me wrong. But they maintain their individuality, and because they don't have material bodies, they enter Mahavishnu and they are in Yoga Nidra.
And when the creation is formed again, so do they go back to the same state in whichever lok they were in at the time of annihilation?
No, it's about karma, right? They have some
Yeah,
karma.
so they go back to that same state where they had paused during the time of annihilation.
It's not like that. It's not like that.
Okay.
So wherever the karma had paused, the karma continues from that. So for example, if somebody was in, what city are you in, Chandrama?
Bangalore.
Bangalore. Somebody was in Bangalore. It's not like they're going to resume from Bangalore. It's like, hey, they were in Bangalore, but they didn't use their free will very well. So they're supposed to be born in Rasatala. So now creation begins. Rasatala gets, is a new destination for that soul.
Okay. So the karma account remains same, and
Karma
they
account remains
become
same.
new. Okay.
Yes. It's just time has happened where annihilation and new Brahma will come, and with new Brahma, new entire ministry, cabinet ministry will be there. And after that, all creations will be back to, the 8.4 million species of life will be in action, and then the souls can find the suitable body for their karmic reaction.
Okay.
So it's a
Thank
change
you,
of
Prabhuji.
management, Prabhuji.
Huh?
So it's a change of management.
It's a change of management, but that doesn't mean people's karma gets resolved. Karma is what it is.
So is it what is called the Susupti stage? The same thing?
Yes.
Yoga Nidra stage? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anything else?
No.
Akshat is asking, is karma applicable to Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, and great personalities? Yes, of course they are. Prahlad Maharaj was born in the family of demon. Why? Because of past life. He was a devotee. He's a great devotee, but born in the family of a great demon named Hiranyakashipu, who's a child abuser. His father is a child abuser. That's the kind of family Prahlad is born. You want to hear, Akshat, about Prahlad's past life? Why he was born in that situation? The karma he had to face?
Yes.
So Prahlad, in his past
I
life...
also read about
Sorry?
Vitrasura. Vitrasura also I have read. So just ask, because they were having transcendental qualities. So was curious actually.
So Prahlad Maharaj in his past life, he was, as a young man, he wanted to meet with his girlfriend in a certain forest. And they had plans of doing certain illicit activities at nighttime. But somehow he and his girlfriend got into a fight. And when they had a fight, she left. When she left, he got very, very heartbroken. And in heartbroken stage, he couldn't eat or drink anything. He was just up all night. And he was just feeling bad and everything. Next morning, when he woke up, it turned out it was actually a very holy place of Narsinghadev. And it was the night before was actually Ekadashi. So unknowingly, he had fasted on Ekadashi all night, which is supposed to be a very pious thing to do. So Prahlad Maharaj, next life, because of that great piety, that in a holy place, he stayed up all night, fasting from food and water, he got that benediction. As a result, he was born as a pure devotee. He got Narad Muni's association in his mother's womb. And because of the negativity, that his intention was to actually fornicate with his girlfriend or whatever he wanted to do with his girlfriend in that forest. He was born for that purpose. He was born in a demon's family. So for the good, he got the good. For the bad, he got the bad. So karma applies to everyone. Of course, Krishna can always tinker karma in such a way that certain pastimes can happen, right? But karma applies to everyone. Okay, any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
You just said that Prahlad Maharaj has not eaten anything on the night due to certain circumstances. So I think that was destiny, that he was like, he had a fight and he has not taken it. So it was due to destiny. I'm not able to explain my question. Let me try. So if it was destiny, how it is you are considering it as karma? Because it was destined that he's not going to eat something, and then like it was not his decision actually. Maybe
so your
I'm clear or
understanding
not,
of
I don't know.
destiny is automated. It is not.
Okay.
We create our destiny. We make choices knowingly or unknowingly. We make choices and we create our destiny. It was not an unseen hand that forced Prahlad not to eat. He had broken up with his girlfriend. That's why he didn't eat. That's it. It just happened to be on a great day. But destiny is something we create. It is not God made. That is a misconception we sometimes have.
The fight with his girlfriend was not destined. It was like,
it was a choice.
What I understand is, I do not agree. I'm sorry, Prabhuji, but there are some of the things like somebody can tell he will never meet his girlfriend and he'll have a fight, maybe that day or any other day. So these things, like people already tell about this a particular person and
yes, of
male,
course,
female or whatever.
Of course. You know, you are a mother. You as a mother will know if your son likes vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream. But, you know, Krishna also knows. He knows past, present, future. But he still gives us options. He knows what we will choose. So Krishna can say, this person will not choose this and this person will choose this. But we are still making the choice. It's not like Krishna is making us into machines. I'm designing you such that you cannot choose vanilla. You will only choose chocolate. No. Our nature is known to Krishna. So he can easily know, like you know the nature of your son. So you can easily predict my son will do this. That doesn't mean you're destining your son to do that. It's just you know your son. But he's making the choice. Because he's built in a certain way, you can predict it. So we make our destiny. It is not made by anybody else. Our karma, our choices create our future circumstances. In those circumstances, we take action, we make choices that creates future circumstances. And this process is called destiny. And we create it. God has no role whatsoever in it. I'm not able to hear you, Mataji.
Which
Hare Krishna.
this is
Can you please type? Because your voice is getting choppy. I'm not able to hear you. If you can type, that'd be great, Mataji. Am I not audible, or is it? Are you guys able to hear?
Yes,
me?
I'm also not being able to hear. It's the network problem for her side.
Okay. So it's not from my side. Yeah, I couldn't hear what she said. All right. Okay, I will type. Okay, she could hear me. All right. Yeah, please type. Okay, any other questions? This is a very interesting topic. Okay, if there are no more questions, I will continue. Mataji?
Text 22. Yeah. Chapter 13, text 22. Purusha prakriti stohi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sango syasad asad yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he mates with good and evil among various species.
Okay. This is a famous verse. The living entity is in material nature, thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with the material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. The verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entity transmigrates from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another just as one changes dress. The change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. As long as he's captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances, yet he is under the influence of material nature. There is a joke, a devotee joke, where it is said that, please don't take it in a negative way. There is a person fighting on the Indian side, and he's like, Pakistan, I hate you. And he gets a bullet and he dies. But because he was thinking of Pakistan at the time of death, he's born on the Pakistan side. Then he's born there and he's fighting on the border and he's like, India, I hate you. And then he gets a bullet and he dies. It's because he was born, he died thinking of India. He again is born in India. So like that, the person is just taking birth on this side of the border and that side of the border, and this side of the border, that side of the border. And when you're on this side, you're like, India is great, Pakistan is bad. When you're on that side, Pakistan is great, India is bad. That's how one thinks, and that's how material nature kind of continues. And that's what this verse is really saying. Then once we're in material nature, we get all, affinity for matter is so strong that we keep taking birth here and there. The living entity in material nature thus follows the way of life, enjoying three modes of nature. So when we enjoy this, we're like, oh, I wish I was rich. Next life, I hope I am born rich. Oh, I wish I was good looking. Next life, I wish I'm born in a good looking body. Like that, we keep having material desires. And material desires lead to material bodies. Material bodies lead to suffering. And we keep suffering in this side of the border or that side of the border. Both ways it's suffering. But one thinks, oh, this is great. This is, how I want to be. Okay, so Vibhuti Mataji's question. If I know my son's choice that is going to happen, he will choose vanilla. That is destiny. How can I change his choice or be the change in his choice? That's the thing, No one can, of course, forcefully certain things can be done, but a change comes from within. If Krishna, being all powerful, he could have easily changed us, right? He could have changed the rapist, the terrorist, the goons into pure devotees. But that's not what Krishna does. He has given all these scriptures, devotees, the process, the temples, the deities. Why? Because it creates an environment within which if one comes, one might question, oh, this is so nice. And one might take up this lifestyle. And thus, as they go through this lifestyle, there's an inner choice they make. I want to choose you, Krishna. And thus one chooses Krishna, and that is love. Krishna wants us to love him on our own, not by force. So if we think we can change other people, it's not going to happen. People choose to like us or choose to not like us. We can do our part. We can do 100% in terms of behavior, in terms of etiquette, in terms of being all compassionate and gratitude and all of the wonderful things. That does not guarantee we can change the behavior of the other person. We can only change what is here. And honestly speaking, in my life, little life that I've seen, you have seen a much bigger life. But whatever little bit I've seen, 90% of the problems can be fixed here only. If we fix this, our surroundings change. When we try to change the surroundings, we keep trying and keep trying, and it's in vain. So it's important that we understand what is in control, what is not in control. This is in control. The world, we can't change, even if it is our own children. We might be able to force them or put fear into their hearts and temporarily move them in a certain direction. But that is not permanent change. So destiny is something we create on our own. It is not something that Krishna dumps on us. Please understand that.
Prabhuji, can I add something here?
Please.
So there is a story of a person who had like twins. So one grew up to become a very successful person, and the other one become alcoholic. They didn't earn anything. He was broke, and then the father was very alcoholic person. So when the guy who got very success asked like why you become successful, he says because my father was an alcoholic, I didn't want to be like him, so I become successful. And then the other guy who was very broke, he was alcoholic, asked why you are alcoholic. He said, because my father was an alcoholic, I just went away. So the situation was the same, but they had made a choice, individual choices of how they want to lead their life. And that's how the destiny works.
Exactly, it's choices. Yeah. And one went with the flow, the one chose not to go with the flow. So it's not forced upon us. We should not feel helpless. We should not feel, oh, this was meant to be. All of that is Bollywood, right? But Krishna consciousness, responsibility is ours. Justice is being served every moment. We deserve what we are going through. Good things, bad things, we deserve it, right? That's why it's happening. Now, of course, in Krishna consciousness, a lot of times when we don't deserve, also Krishna gives gifts, right? That's a different story. But in the karmic system, we're not in the karmic system. Please understand, those of us who are chanting, hearing, consistently moving in the direction of bhakti are not in the karmic system. So our case, Krishna might intervene with our destiny. He might put us in a certain situation and all of that good stuff. But I'm talking about outsiders, those who are materialists. They're in the automated system of karma. Nothing to do with destiny and Krishna creating something for us. Now, for us, with prayers, miracles can happen. Hearts can change. Super soul is sitting right next to Atma. Atma and Paramatma sitting together. Paramatma can influence anyone to do anything. That is possible. You pray, Krishna can do magnificent things. You want to change certain habits in your child? Sure. First is we work on ourselves. Two is we pray to Krishna. But again, I want to make sure the concept of destiny is very, very clear. Is it clear? Does anybody have doubts about it? Please feel free to ask. I know karma can be a little hard to understand. Not little, very hard to understand. Okay. Very clear. Okay, thank you. I hope it is very clear for everyone. If not, feel free to ask. All right. Various species. So we come in this and we fall in love with this material situation and we take birth over and over and over again. One time Indra was cursed to be a pig and he was enjoying his pig life with his pig wife, with his pig children, piglet, and everything. And Brahma came to remind him, hey, you're not supposed to be a pig. You're supposed to be Indra, king of the gods, the demigods. And Indra is like, I'm very happy here. Please go away. Brahma killed all the pigs around him. His family was killed. He said, fine, I'll procreate and make more pigs. You can't stop me. I'm enjoying this life. Don't disturb me. Point is, ignorance is bliss. And certain people are enjoying in this material world. And there are certain people who are reminding them, hey, you don't belong here. Please, there's more happiness waiting for you. You have so much inheritance. Why are you enjoying eating stool and, being a pig? I'm happy being a pig. Okay, fine, be happy. Right? That's what preaching is all about. When you preach, there are people who are like, I don't bother me. I'm happy being ignorant. Please let me be ignorant. Fine, be happy. And there are people who are like, you know what? I don't want this. I think there's injustice. I want to understand why things happen. Is there an explanation? Please give me the explanation. And for those people, we share the knowledge. All right, moving on to the next verse. 1323. Great souls, please read.
Text 23. Upadrasthanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapi yukto tehesmin purushah para. In this body, there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul.
As we were talking about Paramatma, so here is Paramatma described by Krishna. Yet in this body, there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter. Overseeing what? Karma. Who is taking notes of our karma? Is super soul, and he dishes out the outcomes of our karma, right? So we take action, super soul sees it, and then there's a reaction. He's also the permitter. Without his permission, no one can do anything. So the person doing charity and the person doing robbing are doing it because permission is given according to karma. If somebody wants to assassinate a big politician and they don't have it in their karma, they'll fail. They'll not be able to do it. But if they have enough karma that they can do something of that stature, then they might be able to. And that permission is given by super soul based on one's karmic bank balance. No partiality, complete neutrality. So that's why Paramatma is supposed to be neutral. Bhagavan is partial. Krishna is completely partial. He'll be like, hey, you're not going to do that. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to put obstacles in your path. You're not doing any nonsense. You're dedicated to me. I'm going to take you back to God. And don't get hither and thither. Right? Unless the person is very adamant. No, Krishna, I don't want you. I want to go hither and thither. Oh, okay, fine, you go. But what does a surrendered soul? Krishna takes charge. Right? But as super soul, Paramatma, he's not. He's like, hey, you have it in your karma, you'll get it. Like a bank teller, right? You have money in your bank account, I'll give it to you. Don't have money in your bank account, I can't give it to you. Simple. So that's what Paramatma's role is. Anumanta Upadrashta. Anumanta means he gives Anumati, permitter, Upadrashta as an overseer. Okay, besides Ragni Mataji, if anybody wants to read, please feel free. 1324. You don't have to be as eloquent, but feel free to try this purification. Wow.
I'll try, Prabhuji.
Please, thank you.
Ya evam yeti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvatha sarvartamano pi nasa bhyuyo vijayate.
The translation?
One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He he will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position.
Thank you so much. So one who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. We read this before also, right? Anybody remembers what verse that is? Not the verse name, but the gist of it. Okay, that can be homework for you guys, if anybody can find out that verse. So the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, clear understanding of material nature, the super soul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has, by chance, fallen into the material existence. By his personal endeavor in association with the authorities, saintly persons, and the spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness. By understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the personality of Godhead, then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transferred into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge. So ignorance keeps us here, knowledge liberates us, right? So Punarjanma na vidyate is one line in that particular verse that I gave you as a homework. So one who understands this interconnection, called Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha means relationship. The living entity, the super soul, modes of nature, how they interact with each other. Once we understand, with that knowledge, one is qualified to be in the spiritual world. That doesn't mean they'll reach spiritual world, but the qualification comes because now they understand how things work. So that is Sambandha Gyan. Then, as we were hearing in the Bhagavad Gita summary, right? Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya Gyan, and Prayojana Gyan. Prayojana Gyan is Gyan, knowledge about the goal, the destination, the spiritual world. Oh, Chintamani stones, and time doesn't exist, and all the trees are wish-fulfilling Kalpavriksha, and the cows are like this, the gopis are like that. So that's the spiritual world. Krishna, always accessible. This is where we are in the material world, Sambandha Gyan. How to get there is Abhideya Gyan, chanting, hearing, remembering the Supreme Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, like that, Atmanivedanam. So the whole process, that's the Abhideya Gyan. So of these 9 processes, Shravanam and Kirtanam is enough. We hear the knowledge and we speak the knowledge and we apply it in our lives. Prayash, please share what is 8:16.
The verse you talked about, Prabhuji.
Yeah, please share. What does it say?
Should I share the purport or the translation?
The translation.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again.
There's another verse actually. I was not thinking this one, but this is also similar verse. But there is another verse. Okay, all right. Moving on. Oh, it's 8:28. So we should probably end here. 13:25. We will start from next week. Any last minute questions? Oh, let's see. There's something in the chat. I have a question. Yes, Vishal Prabhu, go ahead.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like you said, Krishna out of the box जाके devotees का help करते हैं. So हाँ तो but वो out of the way जाके devotees को test भी करते हैं, like difficulties भी over भी देते हैं कभी-कभी, तो ऐसा भी होता है क्या? Like
test नहीं करते. Bhagwan, he's not cruel, but Bhagwan gives you opportunities to build qualities. जो difficulties हमारे life में होते हैं, through those difficulties, certain qualities come out. There are no other way of developing those qualities. So, for example, patience. Some people might not have patience, and they might have a lavish lifestyle where they don't need to have patience. Everything is given to them when they want it. Krishna might put them in such a situation where that lavishness suddenly goes away. And boom, now they're having to learn to develop the quality of patience. So Krishna's not testing. He knows who we are. He doesn't have to test us. But he gives us situations through which our qualities can grow, through which we can qualify ourselves for his association and his service.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Got
Okay.
it.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Vibhuti Mataji, you can call me. All right. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. And have a good night, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare